Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. Hopefully we get some racing on tomorrow. Obviously we've just had Musselburgh abandoned minutes before the first race, which is ridiculous because everybody is there at that point. Considering it had failed or would have failed its inspection at like 8 and 10, I think it was. At that point they should have gone, let's just abandon it. But yeah, they've got people to the course, and yeah, you're going to be able to claim refunds and stuff like that, refunds or changing your tickets. But the amount of people that aren't going to do that, Musselburgh is still going to get free money basically. Yeah, they've got to change that, and racecourses need to decide by say 10 o'clock, and then from then, if it's not fit to race, they have to abandon. Anyway, let's look at some of the racing tomorrow, and we're starting off in the 12:05 at Sandown, where I really like Charisma. Now, she hasn't run for 406 days, and she does have the hood on, but some of her form in 2023 was very good. She won 2 Grade 3 races, AQPS races, before finishing 3rd in a Grade 1. Now, that bit of form normally transfers quite well to hurdles, and I actually think this could be one of Nikki's better novices this year. Does it take a lot of winning this race? Not for me. Doobie Ball, these R figures are not amazing, to be honest. Goes over hurdles for the first time as well. I mean, I would put them on a level playing field. Hasn't run for 336 days. There's no difference between them. Lude Door is probably the safer option, but again, these R figures aren't amazing, and I'd be disappointed if Charisma doesn't win this and isn't good enough to win on first start for Nick Henderson. Currently priced up, they've just gone the one bookmaker at 11 to 8. If we can get that, or 6 to 4, I think Charisma's one of these that will go off odds on and will win. I'd be disappointed if Charisma doesn't win this quite cosily, to be honest. Nick Anderson also really likes Sandown for his novices, particularly his good novices. He's sent the likes of 007 or 007, Countista, Protector Flow, Oscar Whiskey, Oscara Dara, Kazerabad, Vanuatu, Constitution Hill, all to maidens or novice hurdles at Sandown. He does like using this for his better novices, and I think Charisma is definitely one of those. It's going to be one of his better novices this year. That form on the flat is good. It's better than what Doobie Ball achieved in bumpers, and I think both of them should be better than Ludor on hurdles debut. So that's Charisma in the first at Sandown. We then move to Wincanton for a similar type of analysis, really. The horse I like here is Miss Altea Blue for the Nichols team. Now, Paul Nicholls has a really good record at this track. This is generally, again, where he sends his decent novices. Miss Altea Blue gets to run in a novice hurdle as a 4-year-old, which means she is getting £13 from her rivals. She's the only 4-year-old in the race, so she's getting £13. And her effort recently in a juvenile listed event wasn't a bad one. She finished 5th behind OPEC, Prairie Angel, Ambient Amigo. So some decent filly juveniles or juvenile fillies. She finished 5th when not really running her race, I don't think. She was big and a couple. She was awkward at a few. Yeah, she didn't look very straightforward at that point. It's interesting that, she's had 36 days to get over that. That was in November. And they drop her into this race where she's going to be carrying no weight whatsoever. Harry Cobden does take the ride, which is great. He could have been going to Sandown for something there. I feel like this might be why he's come to Wincanton, to be honest. Just having a look at the later race. Yeah, he doesn't have a ride in that one that I'm going to talk about in a bit. What is the feature race at Wincanton? There's a veterans handicap chase where he rides Kel Destan. I don't feel that's the race. I kind of feel that he might be coming here to ride this Miss Altea Blue, thinking we've got a really good chance here. This is a significantly easier race compared to last time. It's all about whether she's good enough as a 4-year-old at this point in her career. But although she's only had the one run in the UK, she had 4 runs over in France at Auteuil, Compiègne, Auteuil and then again at Auteuil, where she ran well in multiple races, including finishing second to Layla Lux, which was good form. Layla Lux has since finished second in a listed race at Auteuil. So, yeah, Miss Althea Blue should really step forward from her debut effort for Paul Nicholls, and I would be disappointed if she doesn't take all of the beating here. Now, we don't currently have any prices for that, so we will be looking at the prices for that. If we can get similar sort of prices to Charisma, 6 to 4-ish sort of thing, I'd be quite happy with that about Miss Althea Blue. I think she's going to step forward for that effort. She's already looks like she's potentially the best horse in the race on just our figures that we've got here. If we had the French figures as well, I'm sure she would be even further clear for Paul Nicholls and Harry Cobden. Back to Sandown for the next race, and we are going to stick with a horse that we backed last time. We were on West of the Bridge when he came to Sandown last time out, and he disappointed a little bit. Not massively, but, you know, he finished 4th beaten 29 lengths. Went off 5 to 1 that day off a mark of 131. Now, the key for me here is when they ran at Bangor, they held West of the Bridge up, finished strongly over 2 mile 3 on good to soft ground. It was then on heavy going, and I didn't have an issue with the heavy going. I thought the horse would be able to cope with that. But it was up in trip as well to 2 mile 7. And they went forward, which also surprised me. So there was kind of a couple of negatives there in that they went forward over a trip that might not have been far enough, and it was on softer going. And I think all of that together just meant he didn't get home. He faded late on. Now, they're dropping back in trip. They're dropping in class. It's not as heavy. I kind of feel that now this is almost perfect. You know, there should be no excuses this time. They can go forward again. It's only over 2 mile 3 or just shy of 2 mile 4. The ground shouldn't be an issue. It's not as heavy as it was at Sandown in December. It's an easier race. Yeah, I'd be really hopeful for a very big run here from West of the Bridge. Now, I do like Doddy the Great. We know we like Doddy the Great. I'm just hoping that they're still running him here to drop him in trip soon. If he drops in trip next time, I'll be very keen on him. But I'm hoping that tomorrow we can get West of the Bridge. I don't have any issues with him going forward tomorrow. I did when it happened at last time out over that 3 mile on soft conditions. And it's not a bad price for West of the Bridge. Currently available at 6s. Only went off 5s in a harder race last time when maybe conditions didn't quite suit as much. Yes, he's now 12, but we backed him as an 11-year-old on the 7th of December. It's only the 3rd of January. It's less than a month later. He's still 11. The age thing's a load of rubbish, really. Yes, they're getting older, but he's only a month older. And yet some people would go, oh, but he's 12. But you would have been more than happy to back him if he was 11. So, yeah, I'm really hopeful of a big run here from West of the Bridge at 6s over this trip. He can now go forward again, and hopefully the Skeltons can get me my money back, basically, for his disappointing effort last time. Moving on to the 150 at Sandown, and we're actually going to stick with the same connections, Harry and Dan Skelton, with Etalon. I'm quite a fan of Etalon. He has been quite highly tried since winning at Sandown. This was his win at Sandown. He ran a 143.3, which you can see would be good enough to go very close anyway. There's a 146 back here from Triple Trade, and there's a 144.4 from Hunter's Legend. Now, Hunter's Legend's got to step up in class here, and has got to overcome just running 7 days later after winning at Leicester. This is definitely a harder race. Etalon, however, won at Sandown in February of last year, absolutely dotted up, beat Gunsight Ridge by 9 lengths. Time before that beat Salamanca Bay in a 2-runner affair. You can ignore that as being impressive. But the time before that, he went to Newbury and beat Martator. Well, Martator was rated 117 that day, is now rated 151. After finishing second at Etalon, then finished second, third, and then has won 5 races on the trot before finishing third behind Soul Icon in the Desert Orchid. Probably really good form last season from Etalon. It hasn't quite worked since then, but they went to Aintree in April for a Grade 1. He only went off 9-1 for a Grade 1. Returned this season in the Haldon Gold Cup, a feature handicap, went off 7-2 off a mark of 141. Dropped for disappointing in that. Then went for another feature handicap at Newbury, disappointed there, dropped again down from 140 to 137. And last time out, again, it was a very competitive handicap. Liberty Hunter, Issa Dairy, Master Chewy, Triple Trade, good horses. Etalon was right out the back, never got involved. I kind of feel that he was there not to get involved. Held up right out the back. Returns to Sandown, got no excuses tomorrow. The fact that we could give him excuses for disappointing at Cheltenham and Newbury, you kind of could a little bit. Maybe didn't want to be held up as well. When winning at Sandown, as I said, he went forward. Returned here off just 135, so has dropped £7 back to 135. Went up to 142 after winning at Sandown. Good form at Sandown as well, has won and finished 4th behind Crambo, Inniston and Hugo's New Horse in a feature handicap final hurdle. Plenty of positives about Etalon. Ground is no issues. Distance, we know he can win over this 2.5 mile trip. Can certainly go forward as well. They've dropped out over 2 miles, which doesn't really make sense now. They're going up to 2.5 mile, having been probably at his best when going forward. They might be able to get away with dropping out now it's over 2.5 because hopefully he'll be finishing strongly. But yeah, I mean, there's so many positives about this horse. I kind of feel that they've been waiting for this. And maybe last time out 3 weeks ago, they had no interest in winning at Cheltenham, and this was where they were aiming him. So that's Etalon in the 150, who is currently available at 7-2. You can currently get 7-2 about Etalon. I think he takes all of the beating. Moving on to Wincanton. So back to Wincanton for the 205, which is a handicap hurdle for Class 5 horses. Definitely don't get involved in these many times. But there's one that I feel kind of stands out here. That is the 5-year-old Dirty Den. So obviously just turned 5. Callum Pritchard's taking 7 off, and I think that's a really useful booking. And a really eye-catching jockey booking from Anthony Cholton. This horse last season ran some nice races and was actually thought good enough, or they thought they'd try the horse, in a listed bumper when finishing 9th of 9 behind Royal Infantry. Then ended up running in the champion bumper. And then ended up going for a Grade 1 juvenile hurdle at Aintree against Sergino, Carges, Calef de Burley and Interletta. Now, it was never good enough. Never going to be good enough for those. But really interesting to see them trying to pitch in so deep. Maybe thinking about their handicap mark. Went to Hereford, got beat. Went to Fakenham, got beat in novice and maiden hurdles. Or maiden hurdles, they were both maiden hurdles. And has since been handicapping this season. Hasn't quite got it together. Off marks of 98, 95 and 95. Now, tomorrow, he has a real chance, in my opinion. Finished 4th, only beaten 8 lengths last time out in a handicap hurdle. So ran pretty well. Off a mark of 95. This is down to a Class 5. The horse has dropped £4 down to 91. So, easy race. Dropped £4. And Callum takes another 7 off. Callum rides much better than a £7 claimer. When Callum gets to professional status, you know, he loses his 7, 5 and then £3 claim, I'll still have no issues with backing him. I think he rides really strong, really well, and he's a really strong jockey. He's currently stealing £7 in my opinion. So this horse is effectively running off a £11 lower mark than last time out when finishing 4th, and is in an easier race. I think all of that added together, this could be when we see Dirty Den really come into his own. And he's a decent price. He's available at 8. I thought it'd be shorter price than that. It's an easier race. He's lower in the handicap. He ran well last time. I'd be very disappointed if he doesn't finish in the first 3 this time. And yeah, I think he can go and win this off this essential featherweight because of Callum taking that 7 off as well, in an easier race than what he tried to run in last time. So yeah, Dirty Den at 8 is my selection here. Two to go, back at Sandown, starting off in the 225, the listed mares hurdle. Now, I like this horse. I think this horse is well handicapped, Aston Martini, and kind of hoped that they would find her a handicap. The problem is she needs to win something and needs to win enough to go up in the handicap to get in the races at the Cheltenham Festival. I think I really like her. I think she's that good that she could be running in a race and running a big race at the Cheltenham Festival. Something like the Martin Pipe maybe, or the Coral Cup. Last time out, they dropped in trip to 2 mile for the Jerry Fielden. Wasn't able to keep up. Disappointed that day. The time before that, however, that was the run to really take note of. She finished second to Might Eye. She should have won it. She made a complete mess of the last. And yeah, she would have beaten the very well handicapped Might Eye that day with West of the Bridge, back in third. Jungle Jack, who was fourth, I think he's come out and won since, hasn't he? He did. He came out and beat Outer Belly at Doncaster. So that form, I think, will work out. Della Casalunga was sixth that day. Comfortably beaten as well. Jipco was eighth. Della Casalunga's come out and won. Jipco's come out and won. I mean, that form looks really strong, doesn't it? 8th, 6th, 4th have all won. 3rd will hopefully win tomorrow. 2nd will hopefully win tomorrow. My Tie is running a really nice handicap there. Yes, he's been beaten since at Cheltenham over 3 mile. He doesn't want 3 mile. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're trying to get his mark back down again. But Aston Martini should have won. Looked really progressive. Yes, she's wrong at the weights now in terms of with the likes of Della Casalunga and Dame of the Cotswolds. I think there's more progression in Aston Martini. And on her official running at Bangor, she was getting £15. She's £15 worse off with Della Casalunga. I kind of feel she should have won. Della Casalunga was well beaten. Della Casalunga went off 28 to 1 that day. Aston Martini went off just 5s. I feel that there's not a lot between them anyway. And with that in mind, the fact that we can actually get 5s, or 4s, sorry, can't take that 5s, it's the outlier, 4s about Aston Martini, I would have that nearly favourite with Della Casalunga, to be honest. And as I feel there is more progression to come from Aston Martini, this trip is perfect, just shy of 2 mile 4. Yeah, I'm going to have a bet on Aston Martini. And finally, the last selection is in the 3 o'clock at Sandown, which is the Veterans Handicap Chase. And we are going to have a bet on Sam Brown. Yes, he's 13. He's still 12. You know, he was running well at 12 just a couple of months ago. He doesn't lose his ability just like that, just because we've turned to the new year. This season, however, his form has been good, hasn't it? 3rd in a Charlie Hall behind the Real Whacker and Brave Man's Game. Okay, neither of those are Grade 1 horses anymore. Brave Man's Game's not good enough. Real Whacker probably hasn't been good enough ever. Newbury ran okay in the Coral Gold Cup, the Hennessy, but that was a much better race than this, wasn't it? Been to Sandown just 3 runs ago, ran well there, finished 6th behind Mamnella Kakuna. The only thing the jockey needs to be aware of is he needs to get riding early. Now, I didn't mind, as I said, Chad Bayment when he rode. I was worried about him when he rode Good Luck Charm, who actually won at Sandown, and that's why we didn't back Good Luck Charm. Since then, he rode really well that day, and he's ridden some other horses really nicely. No issues with Chad Bayment. All he's got to be doing, all Anthony needs to tell him is keep him going, keep him going, keep him going. If you can keep him going, he's nicely handicapped for sure. That £10 off that Chad takes means the horse is effectively running off 142. Well, 3rd in the Charlie Hall off 156. Beaten in a handicap, granted, comfortably beaten in the Hennessy off 151. Runs off 142. Has dropped significantly in the weights because of those that big claim. Won the final last year, beating I Right off 147, and won it going away. He can keep up over 3 mile. That was off 147, as I said. He runs off 153, but Chad takes 10 off, which means he's effectively running off 143. I think he can win the final again. I don't feel that he's lost his form at all. Since winning that race, 4th of 5, beaten 9 lengths in the Shishkin race, 5th in a race at Kempton behind Forward Plan, that was a feature handicap, won at Ascot off 151, 2nd to Cruise Control at Aintree, 6th in the Bet365 Gold Cup, 3rd in a Charlie Hall. The only time he was well beaten was in the Hennessy. He's not, he's 13 or 12 and 13 sort of thing. He's allowed to have a disappointing run like that. I think he will bounce back here. And I think he's going to take all of the beating, to be honest. And he's currently available at 9-2. A little bit shorter than I was hoping for. I was hoping for more of 6s. But 9-2, if Chad just gets riding on him, as long as he keeps him involved at the back of the field, he'll be finishing strongest of all. And I think he'll win this race again. So they are my selections for tomorrow. A quick recap. We like Charisma for the Nicky Henderson team. Her form looks good in AQPRS races. Doesn't need to be a world beater to win this, but Nicky does send really good horses to Sandown. Wincanton, Miss Altea Blue gets £9 from the 13 pounds from the rest of her rivals. I think I said 9 previously. It's 13. £13 from the rest of her rivals. Her debut effort for Paul was pretty good anyway. Her form in France has worked out well, and yeah, she should be able to beat this lot. West of the Bridge, drop back in trip. Harry on board, easier race, dropped in the weights. Lots of positives about West of the Bridge. Etalon comes back to Sandown, where he was a very impressive winner. 3 runs this season, haven't been great, but I kind of feel that this might have been where they've been looking at. Dirty Den, again, dropped in the weights. £7 claiming jockey on board that rides really well. Easier race. 4th last time over this course and distance. Should go really close tomorrow. Aston Martini, yes, has to overcome being wrong at the weights, but I think she's the most progressive in the race. Her form ties in very nicely with Della Casalunga, who's the favourite. And finally, Sam Brown to try and win this race again. Last year it wasn't here, but he does have some good form here. And his 2 runs this season, or especially his first run this season, haven't been no issues to me in terms of can he still win races. Yes, he can.